2 years after the unprovoked Russian invasion of Ukraine, the conflict has turned into a war of attrition. Will this war ever end? In this video, we will assess possible scenarios regarding its continuation or resolution. Stay tuned. "27 months ago, Russia launched its aggressive invasion of Ukraine, drawing global condemnation. Our previous video explored the conflict's complex history and key events. You can watch the full version on our YouTube channel for more details. Briefly, the conflict has deep roots, with tensions escalating significantly in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea following Ukraine's pro-Western shift. This led to ongoing battles in eastern Ukraine. In early 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion, anticipating a quick victory, but met with a strong Ukrainian resistance. By mid-2022, the war had turned into a brutal stalemate with devastating humanitarian impacts. Despite Ukraine's counteroffensive in 2023, the conflict dragged on with no significant territorial changes until Russia resumed its advance in April 2024. Despite this, the war of attrition continues. Tens of thousands of people have died since the beginning of the war, including more than 10,000 civilians. About 40% of Ukraine's population is displaced internally or has fled the country. The question remains, will this war ever end? Ukraine is heavily dependent on international aid. Since January 2022, most Western nations have pledged more than $380 billion in aid to Ukraine, including nearly $118 billion in direct military aid. However, some of Ukraine's allies have hesitated to send new aid. Some European countries have decreased or stopped their assistance, while the US faces challenges in passing laws to provide more aid. Although President Biden and his administration have pledged support for Ukraine as long as it takes, Trumpist congresspersons delayed the aid bill in Congress for months. Although the $61 billion aid package eventually passed, concerns about future aid are rising, especially with the possibility of Trump's re-election. But this isn't Ukraine's only problem. The main issue is manpower. While modern technologies have reduced the importance of military personnel on the ground, it remains a crucial factor. Russia's population is more than 4 times that of Ukraine, giving them an advantage in active and reserve forces and allowing them to mobilize for a longer period. It's more or less clear that Ukraine cannot regain all occupied regions without ground support from Western countries, and currently there is no sign of intention to provide such help in the West. The only win scenario for Ukraine would be the collapse of Putin and his replacement with a figure who opposes the war, which seems unlikely. The 2024 Russian presidential election, held in March, saw Putin winning by 88%. While the legitimacy of the election is under question, and the anti-war candidate's candidacy was rejected, the holding of the election without serious concern indicates that Putin's position is still strong. A coup also seems unlikely. In June 2023, the Wagner Group, a Russian mercenary group led by Yevgeny Prigozhin, a close ally of Putin, started a rebellion. They stated that their target wasn't Putin, halted their advance, and Prigozhin stood down as the leader of the group. However, just a few months later, he died in a suspicious airplane crash. These events have reassured Putin's position as the leader of Russia, and currently there is no significant threat to him. However, a win isn't imminent for Russia either. We shouldn't forget that Russia is under strict and harsh sanctions, and its economy is heavily impacted by the war. War is costly, and with an embargo on Russia, funding the war is a challenging task. Their casualties are also higher than expected, making recruitment harder. While support for the war in Russia remains high, discontent will inevitably rise over time. However, in authoritarian regimes, public discontent does not matter as much as in democracies. Even considering these issues, Russia can continue the war for several more years and will be less affected than Ukraine by its continuation. So how could this war end? Western countries cannot let Russia win. There are two scenarios in which Russia could be considered victorious. First, if Ukrainian defense force collapse and Russian troops reach Kiev, Russia could establish a pro-Russian government in Ukraine. The other scenario is that Russia could formally annex 4 Ukrainian oblasts plus Crimea, and the international community somehow accepts it. But why must Western countries prevent this? First, they don't want to lose. After their strong support for Ukraine, if Russia manages to win single-handedly, Western countries' reputations would be damaged, which is unacceptable. Moreover, a change in international borders would affect international law. After World War II, it was established that war wasn't a legitimate means to change borders and that countries should respect each other's borders. If this norm is broken, the consequences will be unpredictable, potentially leading to more expansion wars by stronger countries and increased chaos in international relations. Extending wartime without the expectation of defeating the invaders raises the risk of Russia's winning or at least gaining the upper hand. Russia already occupies about 20% of Ukraine's territory. Based on these facts, the only remaining scenario for ending the war without further loss of life, destruction of Ukrainian infrastructure, and potential gains for Russia is negotiation. It's hard to negotiate with invaders when almost everyone knows that you are right, but sometimes the harsh reality dictates its terms. The elements that both parties would negotiate depend on them and the situation on the ground. A mediator is also necessary, which is hard to find. Western countries cannot play this role as they are firmly in the Ukraine camp. The only remaining major power is China, which is accused of backing Russia and described as maintaining pro-Russian neutrality, but can still mediate between the two parties. China even offered a peace plan to start negotiations. Ukrainian authorities welcomed the idea but insisted that any peace agreement should include Ukrainian territorial integrity and the end of Russian occupation. In recent weeks, Russia also showed an interest in a peace agreement based on the Chinese plan, though Ukrainian authorities described Putin's comments as hypocritical. It seems we are still far from an agreement, but there are signs that both parties' intention to find a solution to the conflict is rising, especially with Chinese mediation. We have to wait and see. Thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our future videos.